Hey guys, welcome back to another lesson. Today I'd like to talk to you about getting that sort of classic modal jazz sound, which is a characteristic of many modern jazz pianists. The first name that comes to my mind is McCoy Tyner, but there are many others. And we're gonna play a simple song, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And we're gonna do it in a modal style. And I'll show you how it's done. So, and really this is much simpler than it looks. Let me walk you through what I did, and then I'll show you some ways of thinking about this and extending this. So basically you have your melody, and for each note of the melody, you're going to play a series of perfect fourths, extending downwards. So a perfect fourth is an interval, which is 5 semitones. So let's say for a C, you count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you have this sort of quartal chord, which is made of 3 notes, and it's not really major, not really minor, because there's no major third in it and there's no minor third. And I mean, this is really the basis of modal sound. And you can do this for each of the notes. So for G, you would do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you have this. And for A, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and again for G. So you can keep on playing the melody in this way. It doesn't sound too good if you play it kind of slowly, but when you string it together at the right tempo, it does have a fairly kind of modern, open, modal sound. Now in the left hand, what you can do is you can double this. So you can just play the same thing in both hands, just transpose down an octave. So for here, for example, I'm playing this exact same set of notes in both hands. Sorry. Now this is okay. I personally find that instead of playing these perfect fourths in the left hand, I actually like playing this sort of octave. So the last note gets lowered down by 2 extra semitones. So now you're really playing an octave in your 5th and 1st fingers. So now I would be playing and you can see how my left hand now is playing octaves, octaves, G and a G, octaves, and so on. If you want to solo on this, the Lydian scale, the C Lydian scale works really well. So now let's talk about a few variations and ways to look at this. First of all, just an aside, if you look at this quartal chord and you look at its inversions, so let's take this D, move it up an octave, you get a sus4 chord. This is a G sus4. And if you do another inversion, you take this G, move it up an octave, you get a sus2 chord. Only this time it's a C sus2. And finally, the last inversion brings you back to the original form. So many times you can not play this open form, but you can play this either sus2 or sus4 chords. So actually they're they both have this kind of modal sound to them. Now, a few interesting things happen when, instead of playing the same set of notes in the left hand as you do in the right hand, you space them apart. And now you can see that if you think about this, these two notes, the topmost in the left hand and the bottommost in the right hand, are two semitones away from each other. And that kind of gets preserved along the playing. So here, G and A are two semitones, A and B. What happens if we select a different interval? So now we're going to have these two modal quartal, actually they're called voicings in the left and right hand, but they're not going to be spaced exactly two semitones. Now there are two other intervals for which this gives, in my opinion, a pleasing sound. One of them is a major third and the other is a tritone. So let's look at the major third first. Let's say we play this sort of thing. So you see I'm playing a quartal voicing in the left hand and in the right hand, but these two notes are a major third apart, which is 4 semitones. Now the fact that now you have this here, this is a major third that really fits in with a C major chord. So this kind of implies that this monstrosity is a C major chord. I know the chord, the on-screen chord identification program I use says D9 sus4, but in my opinion, this sort of implicates a C major more strongly than a D9 sus4, although both interpretations are valid. So you can actually, let's say, so we've played the beginning with this kind of modal sound. Now let's see how it sounds if we play the second part with this sort of more major spacing. So we have, so you see I have this major third here, an F and an A. Which again retains the modal character, but it's different than if I had played something like this. Sorry. So it's a different kind of sound, something for you to experiment with. The second spacing that gives this an interesting sound, slightly different, is a tritone. And a tritone is basically 6 semitones. So here's my, let's say, here's my right hand quartal chord, and I go down 6 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I build a quartal voicing on this. And now actually this has also additional structure. This tritone here strongly implicates one of two dominant 7th chords. Either an E dominant 7 or a B flat dominant 7. Again, I know the automatic chord identification software only lists the B flat, but trust me, this is also basically an E. But really, I guess the software is correct in the sense that this more strongly implicates a B flat just because of the choice of the different notes. Now, it will actually sound not as good if you go down using this tritone interval, but you can try doing this. You know, let's try it. Right? So it sounds more dissonant. And now you're basically trying to play a series of dominant 7th chords, so it kind of clashes more. Still, you know, if you happen to, I mean, this is a way of retaining the modal character of your chord progressions while simultaneously giving it a little bit more structure. So, you know, if you hit that dominant seventh chord somewhere and you want to emphasize it in some way, this is one particular successful voicing for doing so. So, you know, you can do stuff like play a C major chord, or, you know, you can play a G dominant seventh chord just by playing this sort of two quartal voicings, left and right hand, but a tritone in between them. So you can even take, you know, so-called regular chord progressions and give them this modal character, if, you know, just to, I guess, if you like this sort of harmonic color. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's like I said, it's easier than it sounds, I think, when you first hear this, but you can really give this kind of modern sound without getting things too complicated. Just use this quartal voicing and double it in the left hand, or use this octave voicing I've shown you, and you can just pretty much play any song this way. That's it. I hope I've given you some interesting things to think about and that you've learned something new, and I'll see you next time.